Well, here's a guy who's been doing his part for a long time. Bill McKibben is the co-founder of Third Act, which mobilizes people over the age of 60 for action on climate and racial justice. Third Act is a partner of No Kings. Bill is the author of numerous books, including The End of Nature, considered the first book for a general audience about climate change. Bill, welcome back to the show. Thank you for being with us.
Good to be with you, brother. And that was a remarkable summary. The only thing I think that you left out was the fact that the last No Kings Day so ticked off the president that he put out that video of him flying an airplane above America,
right,
dropping excrement on the head of protesters. So if anybody thinks this doesn't matter, it matters in the biggest possible way.
Well, this is why I wanted to talk to you, Bill, because you have been involved in social justice for decades. And what people who are involved in it for decades understand is that it never really ends. The urgency of this movement is now. There are people in America who say, what can I do? Well, you can vote in primaries, and you should vote in November, but you can be out there next Saturday.
Absolutely. Next Saturday is really important. Look, when we did No Kings 2, it was a huge day of action. Since then, President Trump and his administration have shot and murdered 2 Americans in the streets of Minnesota, and they've launched 2 wars. This one's going to be much, much, much bigger still. We're closing in on the size of the first Earth Day in 1970, when 20 million Americans were out in the street. And that was enough to change American environmental policy for a generation. We need everybody out. We need to be making it clear just how tired we are of this incredibly wearying and exhausting presidency.
Well, that's the other reason to have you here, because you have experience in one of America's biggest movements, which, by the way, back in those days, looked like you were up against every force that there was, every moneyed force that there was to draw attention to the climate. We still have a serious issue. I mean, the weather in the Southwest this week, we should warn people how serious it is. But it doesn't matter whether climate is your issue or world peace is your issue or immigration is your issue. It's all about having a say and your agency.
Absolutely. One of the reasons that we're so intent on organizing older Americans, Allie, is that they have a kind of baseline against which to judge this.
Yes.
I've been doing a series of videos the last week with some of the very oldest members of Third Act, people in their 90s. And if you think about it, those people we're celebrating our 250th anniversary this year as a country. They've been around for more than a third of that history. And so what they're saying in these videos over and over again is, this is completely abnormal. There have been presidents we didn't like before, but there's never been anything like this, just sheer craziness, launching wars without even bothering to make a case to anyone. Shutting down. I just did a video with a woman whose sister died of polio, and she was in the first cadre of people to get the vaccine. I cannot tell you how pissed off she is about the fact that we're now essentially tossing the next generation of infants into the immunological unknown. The craziness of this moment is what's driving people to act in these ways.
So talk to my viewers, many of whom will fit into Third Act. They are older Americans who are really good consumers of the news and really faithful adherents to democracy. For people who are watching the show who have never protested in their life, tell them how easy this is.
So this one really is easy. These are very gentle and lovely protests, and you'll be out in your community. You go to nokings.org to find out where one of the 3,000 protests nearest to you is and what time it'll be. Write yourself a sign if you want, but just show up. Be with other people. Your body in the streets this day is your testament to your sense of the world. And if you are an older person and feel more comfortable in the company of other older people in this work, go to thirdact.org. We'll be having lots and lots of people marching behind big banners that say elders against authoritarianism. We've lived a long time. We haven't seen anything like this, and we do not intend to pass it on to our children. We want America back. Improved, yes, as your most recent guest said, this isn't the end of the work, but it's the start of the work to get rid of, to thwart this, just by this point, crazy authoritarian presidency unlike anything we've ever seen before. I think maybe when we started, No Kings was a kind of clever way of talking about this. But by this point, he's acting in exactly the ways that kings and authoritarian leaders around the
That's
world
right.
have all.
Yeah, when this started, to a lot of people, they're like, what's No Kings? He's not really a king. Yeah. And we have all sorts of things that'll prevent him from being a king. It's like, whoa, apparently we have less than we thought.
A king is someone who sends his soldiers off to war without explaining to anybody why and without asking anybody if it's okay. Just on his say-so, we're suddenly fighting a war that no American can explain and that, according to the polling, almost no Americans want. So this requires us to stand up. Our job, I mean, it shouldn't be like this. People shouldn't have to spend their weekends out protesting. We should be allowed to, go for a hike in the woods or see our grandkids or whatever it is. But this is the country that we currently inhabit. If we want the old country back, well, take your grandkid out with you to the protest. It'll be good for them. They'll have a good time.
It'll be history. It'll be a picture they look back at for a lot of time. Bill, there are, I was talking to Leah Greenberg earlier, and organizers of rallies often don't want us in the media getting obsessed with numbers, the 10 million target that we hope we'll get, because it's more important than that. But it is really important that even if you are an influencer in society and you're the head of organizations and you're doing the right thing, there is value in your body being out there being counted. There is value in those aerial shots of tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. We still look at those Earth Day pictures.
Amen. And you know who still looks at his pictures of crowds? It's Donald Trump pretending that his inauguration got all kinds of people out when nobody came. There's nobody in this country who pays more attention to crowd size than Donald Trump. So let's do him a solid and show what it looks like when people get very exercise, when they really, really care. And I think really that's going to be the story of 2026. It's not just that most Americans oppose what he's doing. It's that the people who oppose it with an enthusiasm, a fury that far outmatches whoever is still left out there pretending they support him or just unable to get over the idea that they made a mistake and unwilling to admit it.
You're entirely right, Bill. Thanks as always. Thanks for your decades of work. Thanks for reminding us why this is so important. Bill McKibben is the founder of the organization Third Act.